Okay, welcome back to Office Hours. I'm Nora, that's Sto, and we're joined today by very special guest, Jimmy.
It's my little guy right here. Say hi, Papa. His little camera shot. We're still rehearsing and practicing and stuff like that, but yeah, I got this little guy. I don't think I've brought him on stream yet, so he'll be around every now and again. So be prepared because he's got a lot of advice for people and creatives and stuff like that.
Like, get a website, get a newsletter, engage with your fans. He's so cute. Today, other than staring into Jimmy's beautiful eyes, we are also talking about why creatives matter. And, with I feel like lately, every time we get on Office Hours, we're like, with everything going on in the world, it can feel sometimes, I don't know, like a little disconnected to be like, here's why you should make art. But and so that's part of why we wanted to talk today about just like creatives matter, creativity matters, independence matters. And so as you're joining us, please feel free to share your comments, or if you're watching this afterwards, share your comments. But yeah, and so maybe that's where we start, is like, why does creativity matter? Why does independence matter? I don't know if you and I have ever even really talked about it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, even given the times currently, I've always been, a guy who believes that art is a form of rebellion. Creating is a form of rebellion. Putting all that out is a form of rebellion. And so, especially in this day and age with everything going on outside and whatnot, we need creatives. I actually genuinely believe that. I was talking about it on a few different apps where it's always interesting to see who's in the music industry but doesn't actually like music. And it's just creatives are literally are keeping some of us sane out here, to be completely honest. And so I know we talk a lot about the business side and all that stuff, but just the fact that you're willing to put yourself out there and create and make art. I don't care if you're an artist, a rapper, singer, producer, engineer, chef, author, comic book writer. I don't care. We need you all out here, especially now.
Yeah. I mean, and there's a couple things that art does, right? Art plays a role in our culture, in our society. It interacts with our nervous system in a completely different way than factual information, or more linear information. And part of what that is I think art, what creatives do is they take very complex things, complex emotions, complex stories. They take complexity and they translate it into something that we can digest and we can process. And so there's something there about the accessibility in a time where there's so much chaos and there's so much confusion and there's so much. And so I think that's really important, that creatives are translators of the human experience. And we know this when we're going through a heartbreak. What do we want to do? We want to hear sad songs because we feel better afterwards. Why do we feel better afterwards? Because we're processing our emotions through someone else's understanding of the same thing. Or, before you go out, you want to hear some hype songs. Why? Because there's that emotional response. And I think now, especially, there's so much happening in the world that is, and with AI and with all these capitalism, that it is trying to interrupt the relationship between us and our emotions, and therefore us and one another. And so art to me is a resistance and a pushback against that, because it continues to center the human experience and it continues to center human emotion, not bots, not algorithms, not AI, not some corporate nonsense, but our human to human piece. And I think nothing can ever take the place of that. And I think that's really important now, always, but now more than ever.
Absolutely. And I think like I'm going to be completely honest, people, the the higher ups, I guess, or the powers that be don't want us creating. They don't want us putting or like expressing ourselves. Like, to be completely honest, we really want to get into it. And so again, like whatever your event or your avenue, I it really is needed now. And I think, and like here's the other thing is like, obviously given everything going outside, but even the fact that like I meant to touch on this in previous episodes or whatever, but like corporations are understanding the value of that art and creation and whatnot. And that's why you're seeing some of these companies start to try to pull in more independent artists to use their platform and all that jazz because you're important. Get out of there. And making sure, I'm sorry, and making sure they have control over that art or those platforms or whatever is so important. So that's why it's just like we've been here for a while, obviously, but like, we've always felt that independent music and independent art in general is just what keeps the world going round and stuff like that. And so, I know a lot of artists out here don't feel like they're going in the right direction, or they don't feel like their trajectory is where they want it to be. And I'm not even talking about like being famous or whatever, but like just your natural life journey. And so, we really don't talk enough on here about why you matter as an artist or, whatever it is that you're doing. And so I understand it can be frustrating watching how things operate and stuff like that. But like we genuinely do. We need more independent creatives, and we need those same creatives to speak up and keep creating, not to get discouraged by numbers or like Nora was just saying, or the bots, and say like, because that's easy. Like I've definitely dealt with it where it's just like, damn, like what the hell's the point of even speaking when the algorithm and bots and all this other crap is happening? But I promise you, someone is seeing it.
Well, and that's like, so what you said about like corporations don't care about us. And a lot of these corporations pretend that they do because they want to make money, right? And I think the perfect example of this is like dating apps. Dating apps are a multi-trillion-dollar industry. Like they make so much money. They make money not when you make a match, but when you stay on the app longer and longer and longer. And so for folks who are like, you go on the app and people are shitty to each other, and so you go back on the app, but it also makes you discouraged and it creates more distance. And who wins at the end of the day? Not you, not the other person swiping, but this company that's making so much money off of our desire to connect with one another. And so to me, and labels do the same thing, and art galleries do this, right? Like this is part of capitalism. And so the power of independent artists is especially important, because as an independent artist, part of what you're saying is that, and I'm not knocking if you choose to get signed or and this isn't like, oh, I did it by myself, no one ever helped me. This is not that right. At all. But, and also there is a power in being independent, because part of what you're saying is I will not change my message in the service of or under pressure from some entity that is not invested in my best interests. And my best interests being beyond just like, am I making money or are people hearing my song, but are my people being taken care of? Is my community being safe and protected? Are we protecting our environment for the long term? And so it's really, really hard to be independent. Like y'all know this, like we know this. It's really, really hard, especially for those of us who are in the US. We don't have healthcare. Housing is inaccessible. Like there's all these other things. So even the system is not designed to nurture and protect us or to take care of us. So to stay independent is really, really hard. And yet artists continue to do it because there's a freedom in being able to tell the story. And we know this, right? Like when you look at throughout history, whenever there's suppression or censorship, they come for the artists first. They come for the thinkers and the storytellers first. Right now with everything that's happening in Iran, it was musicians who were some of the first people who were targeted and incarcerated and worse, because they were speaking up and telling stories through art and song and music. And so I think that piece of, like our question is like, why do independent creatives matter? And the emphasis can be on creatives, or it can also be on independent.
Right.
How we frame this question. And I think that there's something really powerful in being independent, because your loyalty isn't being moved one way or the other.
Exactly. And I think when again, it's one of those, like you just said, it's proven time and time again, like that independent voices in art matters, or else these corporations and entities and the government and all these other facets wouldn't be trying so hard to silence these people that are doing that type of work. And even, even with how it permeates through social media and stuff like that, like you immediately see, I mean, my God, like even just in the last couple of weeks, political figures slamming the people that are resisting. And so that's why, like, it is a statement. It is a message. It does. And here's the other thing. I know this sounds crazy. Sometimes I think people forget this, but like, your art is giving hope to people. Like, especially these days where things are just, I'm sorry, people, things are out of control. Like we've been talking about this on the channel for a while now, but it's just, it keeps getting worse out here. And the mainstream stereotypical channels of communication are being controlled by certain people now, and more so than before, obviously. And so in some cases, unfortunately, independent creation and, in a grander scheme, writing, independent journalism, independent, take your pick, is all important. So we need you out here, even if it feels like we don't. Because again, when you look at numbers and you look at this, it's easy. Again, we've talked about this again numerous times. Like it's affected both of us during the course of our careers. The whole numbers game and stuff like that. But every time we have that conversation, it's always, well, there's bigger things at play here, and there's other things that we need to be speaking about, and there's other things that people need to be educated on. Does it suck to not, hit certain metrics? Sure, but we're going for something bigger, and that's what a lot of you are already doing. And so I know the numbers don't always come in. I know that, trust me, I know the check don't always be looking that crazy. But that doesn't mean that your creations and art doesn't matter. Like, again, we need y'all now more than ever, for real, for real.
Yeah, like I think so many artists think that they have to be an influencer to be influential. And no, and like to your, still your point, like life is hard. So even if your music is just right, I don't mean to dismiss, is simply right, joyous, we need that. We need joy so that we can go on to fight another day. We need angry music. We need it all. And hopefully as an artist, you have a political practice that is also part of how you're moving in the world, right? But I think part of that, so like I think there's so much value in what art does for us as translating, as storytelling, as access, as emotion. And the other piece of it is also like, what's the future that we're building? If we're fighting so hard, I'm not fighting for a world that's just more of the world that I'm living in. I'm fighting for a world where there is, like just all the thing I'm picturing. If you've seen Willy Wonka and he opens the door and it's like a world of pure imagination, and there's like, right. But like that kind of radical imagining is so important in what artists do for us. And so there's an art, and you don't have to do it all, right? Some artists are telling the truth of reality. Some artists are giving us a break, and some artists are helping imagine the future that we're moving towards. And it all matters. But again, like coming back to that word independent, if you're an artist with a stake in XYZ corporation, it's going to change how you imagine the future. And we don't want a corporate future. We want a free, radical future. And so as an independent, and I think in some ways you might have a different stake because your social location is different. And so we get to imagine the world that we want to live. And this is also where part of why you matter as an artist, some of you have heard me talk a lot about like the music doesn't really matter as much as the relationship that you're building with your audience, because it's that human to human, like parasocial kind of relationship. And so that also, your fans, your audience is looking towards you to see how you're navigating something, to take their cues, to help process, to as you learn, they learn, as you talk about something, they talk about something. I mean, look at like the conversations that Bad Bunny started and things that people had never seen, and now they're like putting pieces together because they saw something at the, and that's the other piece about art, is it, like, you don't have to go to a museum or to a classroom or to a talk or to a, you know, you don't have to go somewhere to receive this. It's just there all the time, everywhere with us. And so there's an accessibility that also makes our relationship to art so different. And so there's all these ways that I think as the world feels more and more chaotic and more dystopian, art becomes more and more important. Artists, like, we need, it's not just the art and like your labor that you're providing, right? The outcome that you're providing, it's who you are as someone who has chosen to be vulnerable and take that risk of putting your music out there. That's important. I'm obsessed with Jimmy. Y'all, if you're here and you're watching in the chat or afterwards, say hello to Jimmy in the comments.
I can confirm he does read the comments.
And while you're at it, throw us a little like, throw us a little subscribe button. If you want to get some treats for Jimmy, or get some treats for me and Sto, your donations and tips super mean a lot to us. So you can Venmo or Cash App me, just put office hours and it'll go between me and Sto very transparently, very fairly. But, you know, also because we're independent. And we're doing this because we believe in supporting artists and making these things accessible. So,
sorry, he's 15 pounds now, so it's like he still thinks he's 5 pounds, so it can be kind of hard to maneuver him because he thinks he's such a little guy. But yeah, sure, make sure you leave a like, right, Jimmy? Exactly. Yeah, make sure you leave a like because honestly, it helps us get in front of more people who need this type of information. Also, honestly, it helps us because we're getting back into this now. And you know, we've been out of the algorithm since probably like December or something like that. And so your like, your comment, share, even for the love of God, just copy and paste it, post it on your social media. All of that does wonders for us in terms of getting in front of more people who might need the information that we're putting down and whatnot. And you know, who doesn't like a little ragamuffin like this little guy right here, right, bub?
Sto, how old is he now?
He turned 9 months last week.
He's a puppy.
Yeah, he's still a little guy. He's entering that adolescent phase, damn it. But we still training, working on it, right, little guy? Okay, anyway, enough about him. He's irrelevant.
He is not irrelevant.
Ooh, careful, buddy. Okay, I didn't mean it, little guy. I know. I'm sorry. That's my bad.
So yeah, y'all, like, honestly, the too long didn't read of this episode is that art matters, artists matters, creativity matters, play and curiosity matter, you as a human matter, and independence matters. Our freedom from AI, bots, corporations, algorithms that are trying to mine our data for capitalism, and to control and coerce our behaviors to further alienate us from one another is not good for the world. And art is deeply emotional and it's deeply human. And it's throughout history for like gazillions of years how humans have related to one another. And so I know the world can feel very, like I said, dystopian and chaotic, but we need art and we need artists. And so if you're feeling discouraged, and it doesn't matter if people are listening or not, it doesn't matter if it's 1 million views or 2 views, you're doing it. The process matters just as much as the outcome, but also someone is going to hear it, someone is going to see it, someone is going to interact with it. And we just need so much more of that. And so, yeah, like Sto said, you matter, it all matters. And we want, part of why we do office hours is to support and encourage and amplify that so that you can continue to do this thing that's so powerful and important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also, and like, I think one day maybe we'll have a deeper conversation about this, but like, there's nothing wrong with being independent. You can still be, successful as an independent artist. I think there's always this like stereotypical stigma almost, or maybe assumption that like, I'm independent, so that means I'm going to be a struggling artist for the rest of my life. That's not true. And again, like I said before, like, there's a reason why corporate entities like Rock Nation, why UMG, why some of these other companies are now like, oh shit, like we actually should, we should be paying attention to independent artists. Let's get them distributing their music through us. They understand the value that you bring. And that's why they're oh my God, again, not going to go like far into this, but it's like, there's a reason why they're not signing like actual acts and are now pivoting to independent distribution. But you don't have to do that if you don't want to. There's nothing wrong with being independent. We know it's difficult. It is super hard. But even as my guy Brain Orchestra was saying, like, you have ownership of everything at that point, though, and it's your story, your narrative, your brand, your product, your support and audience and stuff like that. I don't know. When you're over at a label, a lot of times, like, sure, they set some stuff up for you, but a lot of that data is going to the label, not to you. And all those relationships. I mean, I'm sure the relationships actually that can go both ways, but the point is that like you matter, and there's nothing wrong with being independent. It doesn't mean you're doomed or not successful or whatever, and stuff like that. And again, and honestly, here's the other part. Sometimes being independent gives you more freedom creatively. Some of y'all be super forgetting about that.
Sorry, Sto, but creatively and personally. You get to set your timeline. You get to wear what you want. You get to eat what you want, because we know that the labels tell people, especially women and femmes, like what their bodies should look like. You get to rest when you need to. You get to decide your rollout schedule. You get to take vacations. You get to be with your family. And so independence allows a degree of freedom that you might not have another way. And that's important, because you're not just a product for a label to turn out. You're a full ass human being that deserves a full, well-rounded life. Anyways, I think we could do a whole episode about this and the power.
I might write that down because I think it's an interesting conversation to have.
Yeah. And I would love from folks, Sto and I are always here to hear like what is on your mind. So if you're struggling, or if there's questions, there's topics you want us to cover, throw it in the chat or throw it in the comments. We always come back and check the comments and, revisit episodes. Our next episode, this is episode 102. Our next episode 103 is about getting organized. We did this like early when we started office hours. I can't even remember what episode number it was. Like 1?
That was our first episode.
What? Okay, so
we did like a test intro, but like our first actual titled episode was getting organized.
So we're going to come back and talk about it. So if you have questions or things like struggle points, let us know. There's so much happening, but like I said, we want to be here to support y'all. Sto and I also do one-on-one consulting and coaching. So reach out to Sto, reach out to me. If you ever have questions or want music recommendations, or, again, let's connect to one another. We will be back every other Tuesday. So our next episode is on, oh my goodness,
the
17th. Yeah.
But also make sure you're paying attention, because we definitely are going to be streaming on IG a bit more. Actually, maybe I'll edit the description to include that in there too. So we're on YouTube first and third Tuesday every month, and then we're trying to be on Instagram every second and fourth.
No, we're on YouTube every other week, so it doesn't always work out first and third. But
Fuck no.
I know. But anyways, check back to on the channel, follow our socials so you don't ever miss an episode live. Make sure you take care of yourself, take care of the people around you, and we will see you on another Office Hours episode.
All right, you say bye, buddy. Say bye, bud. There you go.
Bye,
appreciate you all for hanging out with us. Make sure you leave a like. Make sure you subscribe. And then again, share some of these videos with your homies and peers. We got over 100 videos. So yeah. Any you got any last words, bud? I didn't think so. Okay. Yeah. Appreciate y'all. We'll be back here in a couple weeks.
Bye.
Peace.